Other great political news, you have another state joining the 80-mile-per-hour club. It's beautiful. This is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com. And yet another reason why politics matter. Even if, a wise man did once say, you might not care about politics, but politics very much cares about you. One of the best examples is speed limits, those tyrannical, mostly arbitrary BS limits they put on our lives. I mean, so many shitties in states, and yes, I do, as a slight to cities, which are mostly leftist hellholes, that's why I call them shitties. But it's an instance where a lot of them went down to 50 mile per hour for the gas crisis back in the day because they thought it was going to be most efficient. For some cars, usually 55, 60, but they never increased it because they started to get a lot of revenue from tickets. And it's quite concerning when towns get a majority of the revenue from tickets, almost as if they're begging you to break the law. But I partially digress. One of my biggest pet peeves is speed limits. Because I don't think there should be any speed limits on the highway. If you're properly trained, if you're, well, I was going to say, cars these days get safer and safer. Pretty much any factory car can go 100 miles per hour pretty easily, and it's not too much stress on the vehicle. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com, and they say, quote, another state joins the 80 mile per hour speed limit club. All states surrounding North Dakota went up to 80 mile per hour speed limit years ago, save for Minnesotans, which still holds drivers up to 70 mile per hour in the leftist hellhole that is Somalia. I mean, Minnesota, it's hard to tell the difference these days. That's a pun because, they imported so many of them. That's why Omar keeps getting reelected. And here you can see the speed limit sign getting some nice graffiti from 60 to 80. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Chris Smith, specifically over there. He says, quote, those old enough to remember the national 55 mile per hour speed limit have another reason to rejoice. North Dakota will become the next U.S. state to allow legal speeds up to 80 mile per hour on stretches of multi-lane highway. If you ever get to North Dakota, you're now very much welcoming the change, which, gee, this almost gives me a reason to travel to the north. I might, not live there, but yeah, driving through there, if 80 mile per hour is, but I partially digress. Most people on the Dallas North Tollway usually go 100 anyway, though not legal advice, and I certainly don't. Now, they say, quote, the state's legislature passed a new bill that was signed into law by Governor Kelly Armstrong on May 5th. It passed with a clear majority, but not an overwhelming vote. The bill is actually brought back for a second pass after failing an earlier vote that day, according to North Dakota Monitor. Details regarding fines, which are higher, oh, that's not good, and allowing for flexible limits in certain areas are apparently part of the follow-up discussion. Sellouts. There are also some concerns that a higher speed limit leads to more crashes. It's one of those things where, basic math eludes most people, and also people like to ignore statistics. If you call any insurance company, again, they do more research on this than anyone else because obviously they're physically directly impacted by accidents. Fun fact, most accidents overwhelmingly happen in parking lots where people are not paying attention. Accidents do happen on the highway. Yeah, that's true, obviously. But yeah, in terms of the volume of accidents, mostly parking lots. So I should be especially careful and always be vigilant. Now, they say that North Dakota's previous maximum speed limit was 75 miles per hour. Something up an extra 5 isn't exactly earth-shattering. But the drive points out that the increase better reflects the speed limit most drivers are already going. The legislature turned its southern neighbor for some real statistics. South Dakota raised the speed limit on the most limited access highways to 80 mile per hour in 2015. In years since, there's been no appreciable change in crashes or fatalities. The 80 mile per hour limit will apply to multi-lane highways. Presumably, that means Interstate 94 and Interstate 29. The only major highway in the North Dakota, I-94 runs east to west through the southern position of the state, while I-29 reaches north to south in the far eastern region near Minnesota. The law also seeks variations on the speed limit depending on conditions. It's likely the speed limit will also remain lower around larger cities. The limit goes in effect August 1st. In addition to South Dakota, Montana, the state's western border, has an 80 mile per hour speed limit. Minnesota, which borders North Dakota on the east, still at 70 miles per hour. Which, again, I would argue 80 miles per hour is still not fast enough for modern cars. Because again, they're engineered so well these days that most cars are not being pushed to the limit. Especially if you're driving in a straight line and there's nothing around. Why not be able to go as fast as you want? It's your car. Your insurance company might drop you, unfortunately, but I don't know. Sometimes I have to drive to Lubbock, Texas, and you can see about a mile to the left and a mile to the right. There's nothing but nothing. Not that I would ever speed, of course. So it's great to see some states increasing that limit, maybe in our lifetime. And again, there's a small stretch, I believe, in Texas Highway that they're recently passing to have no speed limit, which would be great. Might actually give me a reason to drive down south. But let me know your thoughts. And again, it's one of the things where politics matter. Now, unfortunately, it sounds like they didn't elaborate into the actual specifics of the fees, but unfortunately, it sounds like the fees are increased, which I'm not a fan of, because I can't help but think they're mostly just revenue generators for the states and the cities. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.